Hey everyone, and today we're not going to be extremely positive for once, because as much as I love open source and I very rarely come across a project I actively dislike, our world is not all roses and rainbows and some stuff need to be talked about. And I cannot stress this enough. Any of the issues I will raise here about any of these projects and entities are not attacks against those projects or entities, they're just fairly well documented problems that some people might have an issue with and some people might not. It also doesn't mean I endorse anything I didn't mention in this video. Other projects have other problems and you can let me know about them in the comments. I will address them in a later video. So now let's get started. I'll try to be as objective as possible, but of course bias might show its head at some point, just like our sponsor will obviously show its head as well. This video is sponsored by SquareSpace, and you probably have heard about them by now, but if you haven't, just know that they're your all-in-one solution to build your own website, however complex or simple you want it to be. You can completely customize the website to look and feel and have the features that you want. You have a big selection of templates and then you can rearrange them by just dragging and dropping blocks into place. You can change the general colors, you can add new pages, and you have a big library of modules like a complete online shop with online payment or a members only area, a video gallery. You can even pick your own domain name and book it from Squarespace, and they even have a module to design your own logo. So if you need a website but you don't really know how to get started, or you don't have the time or the technical skills, just head over to squarespace.com/theLinuxExperiment or click the link in the description below and you'll get 10% off your first purchase. So let's begin with Mozilla. Yeah, I told you it was going to be a bit controversial. Mozilla has undeniably been a very important player in the FOSS world. They built Firefox, which is still my browser of choice to this day, and which allowed the web to move past Internet Explorer by grabbing all its market share and letting web devs make better things. They also make Thunderbird, my email client of choice, and they contribute to and support a lot of other projects. But Mozilla, as an institution, has a bunch of problems that you need to be aware of, and then you can decide if they're actual issues for you or not. One thing that is often leveled against Mozilla is that they allegedly argued for internet censorship. In an infamous post, they said we needed more than deplatforming, as a bunch of people were being kicked off popular social media sites for saying things that went against the terms of service. Back when some of these platforms actually had terms of service and moderation teams. Mozilla's post admittedly came out a bit wrong, as they asked for tools to amplify facts over disinformation, which obviously led some people to say that they were trying to decide what was right or what was wrong. And they also basically validated the deplatforming of people by saying we need to go further. And let's be honest, in plenty of cases, what is factual truth and what is not true is very, very well known and not subject to any discussion. But in some cases, it's more subjective. Now, whether you want to believe that Mozilla wants to censor the web, Ministry of Truth style, or you just believe this post was misinterpreted, I leave that up to you. Mozilla has also some other sticking points, notably their over-reliance on Google for funding, which some could assume has an impact on the steps they take to counter privacy-invasive things that Google might push. There's also the fact that their executives are paid quite a lot of money for a non-profit that is bleeding users and market share, at least in the browser space. Their CEO received $6.9 million in 2022, which was a solid $2 million more than 2021, while Firefox lost 30 million users. They also fired about 250 people over the same period. And here again, whether you think paying these rates for a CEO is the only way to attract someone with the skills to ride the ship, or whether you think this is just too much money to be paid for any kind of job, it's up to you to decide. I know where I stand on this one. Now, another project that you're probably very aware of is Snap, Ubuntu's solution for containerized apps. The main criticism leveled against Snaps is its proprietary, centralized store. While the Snap packaging format and the Snap daemon that runs in the background to handle all of these apps are both open source, the store backend isn't, and the actual Snap store is a closed source thing. It doesn't mean you could not run your own Snap store though, or that you even need one. You can install individual Snap packages manually, not from any form of online repo. And you can definitely host your own Snap repo and use it, and let other people use it as well. Or you can run a proxy for the Snap store. But in reality, the only real Snap store that exists is the one Canonicals run, and this store is not open source. They said they have zero interest in open sourcing it because they had already done a lot of work to open source their Launchpad platform, and basically no one used it after that anyway, so they just don't see the point. Now, whether that's enough of an issue for you to not use snaps is yours to decide. If you like the concept of snaps but you want a fully open source solution, I guess Flatpaks exist. Another app distribution format is AppImages, and they're relatively popular, and they also have the advantage of being portable in most cases. Theoretically, you can copy any app image to a USB drive, paste that onto another computer, and they should run fine, unless they were badly created and they rely on external dependencies that your system might not have. But all AppImages do rely on a specific library, which is libfuse, short for file system in user space. The issue here is that AppImages rely on libfuse 2, which is deprecated and obsolete and has been for a long while. Its last version was in 2019, meaning it's been left for 5 years without any security updates at all. And generally, basing your entire project on a 5-year-old unmaintained library is not a good choice. The end result is that, for example, on Ubuntu, by default, you cannot run AppImages because libfuse 2 is not pre-installed because it is obsolete. You can still install it from the repos, it's an easy fix, but there's a reason why it's not pre-installed. Other potential concerns about the AppImage project is the fact that they're generally compared with snaps and Flatpaks, but at the difference of both of these, they are not sandboxed at all by default, meaning you're just running an executable blindly. And in the case of AppImages, most of them are made by third-party individuals, not the original developers. Flatpaks and snaps are also oftentimes made by third-party individuals, but these are sandboxed, although here again you could have all the permissions turned on and the app could have access to the entire system. But what you can do with Flatpaks and snaps is check on these permissions before you install and change those permissions afterwards. With AppImages, you can't. If it runs on your system, it has all the permissions of your user. There have also been some pretty harsh comments and sort of harassment from one of AppImage's lead against apps that refuse to invest time to support the AppImage format. A major example is OBS. This developer had proposed some changes to make it easier to package OBS as an app image. The OBS devs refused this work because they had a lot of concerns with that work and identified a bunch of bugs. The AppImage dev, instead of fixing the work, then proceeded to rant about OBS being funded by Red Hat and thus favoring Flatpak. This was the conclusion of what OBS devs defined as years of harassment, and they banned the AppImage dev from their GitHub. And if you read the entire conversation that I've left in the link, you will see that the OBS devs really aren't to blame here. They even left the door open to anyone else picking up the work and packaging the thing as an app image. Now, also, if you don't have a problem with these potential issues with AppImages and you love them, keep using them. That's fine. There are ways to go around those problems as well. And just because I pointed out some issues with snaps and AppImages doesn't mean that Flatpaks and distro packages don't have problems. They both have problems as well. They're just not of the ethical or security kind of variety. Another project that has seen a fair few criticisms over the years is Manjaro. While some of these issues, like the lack of stability, mainly come from people using Manjaro like it was Arch by stuffing their system full of AUR packages when Manjaro devs clearly do not recommend this, some other problems were more concerning. Manjaro has been known to package unstable versions of applications that weren't published as stable. They added unreleased patches from Git, which led to these apps being crashy and buggy, and app developers getting bug reports that they couldn't do anything about. This is what led a bunch of developers to write the "Don't Ship It" letter, asking distro maintainers and packagers to stop shipping their apps in a modified state because they, the app developers, are the ones paying the price after that. Manjaro also has a pretty bad track record with security, failing to renew their certificates time and again, which feels insane because it's extremely easy to automate or at the very least to set reminders for that. It seems minor, but it did prevent people from updating the repos or installing software. And the fix that was proposed at the time was to change your computer's time and date to a date in the past, and this probably took as much time to write as it would have taken them to renew the certificate. Now add to that the fact that Manjaro partnered with a proprietary Office suite and shipped it as the default, before backing down after some backlash. Or the company behind Manjaro firing their CFO when he refused to approve an expense for a new laptop, or their tool, PAMAC, basically DDoSing the AUR by making too many requests. And you have a few issues that definitely tarnished the distro's reputation. And I am not aware of relatively recent problems along those lines with Manjaro. If you like using Manjaro, keep using it. It's not a wrong choice. These are just problems that have affected its reputation, and they might explain why you see so much Manjaro criticism online. Now, another problematic issue we see more and more often is open source projects switching licenses to restrict what people can do, and open source projects being taken over entirely by companies. A recent example is Red Hat, tacking on some license agreement to get access to the source code of Red Hat Enterprise Linux, meaning that if you redistribute the source code you get access to as a customer, you won't be able to be a Red Hat customer anymore. This could be perceived as adding restrictions on source code distribution, which is forbidden by the GPL, the license that a lot of Red Hat source code uses. Another example is Canonical taking ownership of the LXD project, a project that they had started, but then gave to the Linux Containers project, and then grabbed back again, presumably because they now saw value in it when they maybe didn't previously. They also removed maintainers on that project that didn't work for Canonical, but had been contributing to the project for a while. Yet another example is Redis moving to a source-available license to try and stop giant cloud providers like AWS from making money off of Redis. But this also limited other users' rights in the process. The license change also potentially breaks the BSD license used for some contributions, and some people are arguing that these contributions should thus be removed. This all prompted many forks, including Valkey from the Linux Foundation. The same story happened previously with HashiCorp and their Terraform tool. This license changes basically take away your rights to create a fork of the current version of the tool and to redistribute that fork, which is fine for preventing those giant freeloaders that can be big cloud companies from just using your project, making millions off of it and never giving back anything, but it also restricts normal users' rights, which kinda sucks. This is all very muddy, and whether you think it's an issue is up to you. And finally, we have Hyprland, and this one I kept for last because it really depends on your views on free speech, on what is harassment, toxicity, or the relationship between an individual's opinions and their projects. Basically, what some people have against Hyprland is mostly against their lead developer and founder, not against the project itself. He's been characterized as toxic, and the general community is often perceived as expressing hateful views in the form of what they would call jokes. Pretty bad stuff like endorsement of eugenics, calls for hate-related violence, or transphobia, for example. They've been seen editing someone's pronouns to who/cares. Like, seriously, why would you do this? If you don't care and if you think no one cares, then just leave the pronouns. They can't hurt you. Now, when a code of conduct was pitched to the Hyprland project, it was shut down, and the project's founder went on a few podcasts to explain away the toxicity. His argument was basically, I don't have time for this, I'm writing code, and anyone is free to say what they want. The founder of Hyprland was recently banned from the freedesktop.org community for their problematic behavior, which went against the FDO's code of conduct. Hyprland's founder then basically doxed the FDO member who banned him. Now do with this as you will. If you use Hyprland, you can absolutely keep using it and decide not to interact with the community, or maybe you've never encountered any weird behavior. But if you're like me, you're probably having a hard time dissociating the person writing the thing from the thing itself, and so you're probably not going to use that thing. But also, I regularly criticize Google and I still make videos on YouTube, so I'm probably a hypocrite here. Anyway, that's it for today's video. I tried to be as objective as possible, make up your own mind about those issues. This is not an attack on these projects or entities, and just because I did not mention another project doesn't mean it doesn't have any problems. Just let me know what other problems you've encountered on other projects, and I maybe might make a video about them. Some will find security concerns in Flatpak or Systemd, or won't like a specific distro's attitude. We all have our biases and things we pay attention to. Just like I really pay attention to this segue to our sponsor. If you're looking for a new computer and you're planning to run Linux on it, and you want to support a company that actually contributes to Linux, click the link in the description below and check out Tuxedo computers. They make laptops, desktops, and small form factor computers that run with Linux out of the box. They actually contribute fixes, patches, and drivers upstream, and if these haven't been accepted yet, you have repos to add all those patches onto the distro that you're using. They have a big range of devices that should cover every need and every price point. There's a lot of customization options available, all the devices are very repairable and upgradable, and honestly I only use Tuxedo computers these days. My channel runs on one of their laptops, my gaming needs are serviced by one of their desktops. I don't use any other computer. So if you're interested, click the link in the description below, they're really solid. So, thanks everyone for watching the video. You know what to do if you liked it. There are plenty of YouTube buttons underneath the video to tell me how you liked it and to let the algorithm recommend it to more people. And if you really enjoy the channel, there are also ways to support it in the description and to get a bunch of perks. So, thanks for watching, and I guess you'll see me in the next one. Bye!